President Obama was inaugurated a week ago. It's a short time. How's he doing?
Well, I think he's doing great. I've been with him before we had the 5 presidents meet, and I was with him at inauguration, and I was meeting obviously with him at the luncheon that we had with all the presidents, and I think he's doing this great. I was particularly gratified that he carried out his promise, which didn't surprise me, that he would start working on the Middle East peace process the first time he was in office and not wait to the last year he was in office. So he's already made telephone calls over there, and he's appointed the greatest American he could possibly appoint to be a special envoy to that region, George Mitchell.
And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. What do you make of the stimulus package?
Well, I don't know enough about the details yet, but I have confidence in President Obama and his advisors on economic matters, and I believe that what he's proposed basically will go through the Congress because he's so popular now and the American people are backing him. So if House members or senators are doubtful about it now, I think they'll lean toward accommodating the new president.
Mr. President, can our expectations possibly be too high?
Well, I think they are, but I believe that's better than being in despair. And I think everybody that's rational about it and considers it for a long time knows that the changes that have to take place in the economy are going to be very slow and tedious. And I think a lot of the expenditures that will come as rapidly as possible might not occur until maybe 18 months from now, some earlier. So we're going to have to be patient. We're going to have confidence in our new leader. And I don't think there's any doubt that he will be as successful as any human being could possibly be. And we all need to give him our support and our prayers.
What do you think of the cabinet selections?
I think it's good. I know a lot of them. I had a chance to talk to some of them on Inauguration Day and during the ceremonies there. I had a long talk, by the way, with new Secretary of State Hillary Clinton just before we went out on the platform to witness the ceremonies. And I know a lot of the others as well. I think he's made some good choices.
Do you think Hillary Clinton will be good with regard to the Middle East?
I think so. Obviously, the key person in the administration is the man in the White House. And if she should have some slight differences with him as Secretary of State, she'll have to accommodate the desires of the president. So I don't think there'll be any gap between the two. And I think he's going to be very aggressive. And he's appointed a man who knows both sides of the issue from long experience. And George Mitchell, as you know, is on the way over there now. He'll be meeting with the top leaders in Palestine and also in Israel, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and so forth. This is primarily a fact-finding mission, just to make sure that he comes up to date on what's happening over there. And I'm thankful that he's read my new book. The first copy went to the president. And so I think we will see some very good and wise analysis of it. Obviously, they're the ones that make the decision, not me.
The president gave his first formal TV interview as president to Al Arabiya, an Arab satellite network. Let's take a look at a little of it.
My job is to communicate to the American people that the Muslim world is filled with extraordinary people who simply want to live their lives and see their children live better lives. My job to the Muslim world is to communicate that the Americans are not your enemy.
Do you expect him to have a kind of balanced outreach to the Middle East?
That's a dramatic change over what we've had the last 8 years, or certainly the last 6 years. Yes, I think that overwhelmingly in the Muslim world they have the same basic motivations that we do. They want stability in their lives, they want peace, they want a better life for their children and grandchildren than they've had themselves, and they want to be respected by foreign dignitaries and by great powerful nations like ours. And if he will treat them that way, I think this will minimize the radical element in the Muslim world, which exists in the Christian world as well, who might want to have violence and terrorism. So yes, I believe this is a very good start, and I believe it will pay rich dividends to reach out to them. I think his phrase that he wants to shake hands if they will unclench their fist, those who are inclined in that direction, was a very memorable thing.
What about his outreach to Israel?
I don't know what he's done yet. I know he called the Prime Minister of Israel and he called the leader of the Palestinians both the first day he was in office, as well as the leaders of the Egyptians and the Saudi Arabians. I believe that's right so far. But I think that he will have a very equal treatment between Israel and the Palestinians, perhaps more than we've seen in the last few years, because George Mitchell, his appointee, knows both sides. He's done deep analysis of what's happening in the West Bank and in Israel, and obviously they will move toward a two-state solution. The worst possible thing that could happen to Israel in the long run is to continue down the road toward a one-state solution, which means that eventually you'll have a majority of Palestinians, of Arabs, in the one state, and a minority of Israelis and of Jews, and that will be a catastrophe, I think.
They just had a ceasefire, Mr. President, may have been broken yesterday. Do you think Israel was right in retaliating when it was hit with missiles every day to go into the Gaza?
Well, you have to remember something in perspective. Of course, it's bad to fire missiles. It's bad to kill civilians. But the year before the ceasefire went into effect last June the 19th, which I went over and helped to negotiate, there had been a total of one Israeli killed in an entire year. And on an average of 49 Palestinians were killed every month. So that kind of puts it into perspective. But I think it's best for all of us to condemn any violence on either side. And what we need is just two things right now. One is to open up the gates going into Gaza so that people can have food and water and medicine and fuel. And on the other hand, stop all the firing of missiles and also all the firing of dropping of bombs and so forth, end in violence. And that's possible, I think. And I went back over there in December and tried to work out a similar agreement, but I was not able to at the last minute. And so the violence recurred, which I really regret.
But one of the problems is, I mean, if someone was dropping missiles into Atlanta, you would retaliate, wouldn't you? I mean, it's just human form to do that.
If I couldn't stop it otherwise, I certainly would, yes. One way to stop it would have been to open up the supply of fuel and water and food and medicine to let the 1.5 million Palestinians have a decent life. But that gate going into Israel was closed, and that's the only way you can get food and water and so forth in. And I think, obviously, if they continued to fire the missiles after that was supplied, retaliation would take place. But I think that if the bombing and the shells could have been dropped on the tunnels coming into Gaza instead of on the schools and mosques and churches and houses, that would have been a better response.
All right, Israel holds elections February 10th. Benjamin Netanyahu is favored to win. That's the hardline party.
Yes.
Likud. Do you think that sets things back?
I don't know if there's much choice to be made between the three leading candidates because the issues won't change, and Netanyahu has been pretty outspoken about building up the quality of life among the Palestinians. I think the key to it is what happens with influence or pressure. I'd rather have the word influence from Washington. And I think if the President of the United States makes major effort to bring about an accommodation between Israel and its neighbors, that can be done. That's what happened when I was in office. We had 4 horrible wars in 25 years. Israel was attacked all those 4 times. There was no relationship between Arabs and Israelis. Sadat Begin formed a peace treaty that was signed in 1979, 30 years ago, not a word of which has ever been violated. And obviously, Netanyahu doesn't have nearly the negative image or reputation that Menachem Begin had when he was elected, as you remember, back in 1977.
So the United States plays a key role in your book in solving this?
The key role, absolutely.
The key role.
I think so, because you have to remember that the United States provides Israel with about $10 million of aid every day. And that's very important. And also the international community is led by the United States in giving Israel support and defending Israel from attacks, both military attacks and also political attacks through the United Nations and otherwise. So Israel depends substantially on goodwill from the United States. And I think that almost overwhelmingly the Israeli people want peace. They don't want to continued violence and war the rest of their lives and their children's lives. And those opportunities for making real progress come just every now and then. And I think this year is a time when one of those opportunities has come, And that's why I produced this book this year, to let the American people know what's been happening the last 30 years, what's happening now, and what can be the formula to bring peace.